pleased to be joined by Robert Turbin. All right, Super Bowl champion running back. All right, host of the TurboTalk Podcast, running for You Foundation, a number of different initiatives that our boy, Robert Turbin has been in. But we're very pleased to have him on the show today, live from in California right now, Fremont.
I'm in Cali. I'm not in Fremont, but I'm in Northern California.
Awesome. In California right now. Very pleased to have you on the show. Once again, for all the listeners, you can find our podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you were to find your listening needs, all your podcasts. But pleased to be joined by a Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawk, of course. But we're going to get into just your football journey. I have a lot to ask you and a lot to kind of unravel. But I wanted to start where your interest in football actually cultivated. Right, with your influence from your parents, from your upbringing, being in Fremont, California. When did you just fall in love with the game of football itself?
Well, I fell in love with the game. It became like the number one passion when I was a sophomore in high school. But let me take you back a little bit. I started playing the game when I was 10 years old. Now, the first ball that was ever put in my hand was actually a baseball. That was my first love. My uncle played baseball, went to Cal. My older brother played baseball. I grew up an Oakland A's fan. My favorite player of all time is Ricky Henderson. And, I really tried to mimic his game a lot. I wanted to get on base. I wanted to steal second. I want to steal third, and somebody better hit me home. Or else I'm probably going to steal home too. Easier to do when in your young days than probably in the pros. But, that was just kind of what it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I was 8 years old when I started playing baseball. And then the very next year, as a fourth grader, I was 9, and I picked up a basketball, and I grew up a huge Michael Jordan fan, like so many other people all around the world. And that was really, it became my next love. My older sister, she passed away when I was 5 or 6. Yeah. She was only 21, but she was a basketball player. I mean, she was good enough to beat the boys. Basketball player,
She's really balling, yeah.
And so it was always kind of my dream to be a hooper. I wanted to hoop. It was like it was basketball every day. It was like remember them days where you used to wear like basketball shorts under your jeans?
I still do to this day. I'm all right.
That was like but it was like after school, it was like, listen, you're supposed to do your homework. After school, we were going to the basketball courts every day. That was the thing. You took your jeans off, you had the shorts already ready, and it was on,
Yeah.
And man. But during that year, this is fourth grade, And so I'm a little bit of a storyteller, so you got to bear.
No, do your thing, of course, love it.
And so I stayed where I lived at. It was a corner house, okay, and all the way on the other side of the street, the other corner was a park. It was called Irvington Park, okay, and every Saturday, man, it was so many people at the park. Now, as a young kid, like at first, I thought it was just like, it's the park. There's a bunch of people at the park barbecuing and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
But, as the weeks went on, you started to see like, I'm hearing like cheers and chants and cheerleaders and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Every year, the Fremont Football League would do what was called the Jamboree. Okay. And so the Jamboree consisted of all the teams in the league. They would walk like, I don't know, maybe like a half a mile. They had the band and the cheerleaders and the mascots, and they do this walk from wherever they start from all the way to the field, as like the opening of a new season.
Spectacle.
And so as a second and third grader, you're like, what's going on? It's like they're doing this parade, they're blocking the streets, you don't think anything. You actually think, I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am, 6 and 7 and 8 years old. I'm in the car with my pops, and it's like, oh, look at the parade that's going on. Didn't know what it was about though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, one day I grew up with this guy's name is Justin Ramos.
I was just about to mention Ramos. Yeah, I was just about to mention Ramos. Yeah, there you go.
We've been friends since kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're at school, one day I'm like, man, I asked him, because he lived right around the corner from me. Hey man, do you know what's going on at the park every Saturday, man? It's like, it's always a bunch of people there. He's like, yeah, it's the Fremont, it's the Fremont Football League. I'm like, Fremont Football League? What is that? Like, listen, we playing football at recess.
Yeah.
I know what I can do.
Mm-hmm. We work.
We two-hand touch. I'm the fastest kid in the school. You know what I mean? Like, I know I got some ability now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, for my football, I want to play. How can I play? I mean, he's like, yeah, man. Well, you can't. You can't play now. It's already the middle of the season. It's already started. But maybe next year.
Mm-hmm.
So next year comes around, and man, he got a fantastic family.
Right.
His dad was a detective for a long time. His mom, was like, I mean, she was at everything, like anything that had to do with the kids, field trips, sports. She was there.
Always there.
Liz was there. So they got me signed up. So finally, 10 years old, fifth grader, they got me signed up. I'm like, all right, I get to play football. And what was cool about it was, and I miss it, man, because like, they don't do it anymore.
Right.
But man, they used to do this all the kids that signed up used to do this tryout, similar to like a combine, like the NFL combine, or like a pro day, and all the kids who are first time signees, they, you go to Kennedy High School and they put you through all of these drills, and the coaches are there. You got the coaches from the younger division, the older division, and they're scouts. They're sitting there, they're taking, taking their notes out because there's a draft coming up. They get to draft you.
Yeah.
So you signed up, your first time. So if it's your first time, you enter the draft. It's really cool.
Yeah, we do the same thing. The same thing in Toronto too. Same thing happened with our football
team.
Right?
Oh man,
comes doing the draft and they come to house league and then they bring you to the rep. A lot of CFL players came. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So I don't want to.
But we're talking about Pop Warner. I mean, we're talking about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this is kind of serious for for some kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, we do the combine. Of course, I feel like. I'm the best. I feel like I did really well. And it was one of the first times where I really faced kind of like an underdog. Actually, I take that back. There were some other instances just as a kid, believe it or not, where I felt like an underdog. But I ended up getting picked second overall. The Cowboys had the first pick. The Bills had the second pick. The Cowboys picked another running back. I wanted to be a running back.
Wow.
I mean, my favorite player was Barry Sanders. So that was my inspiration. I wanted to be Barry Sanders. I wanted to run around the field back and forth until I made everybody miss and then go score a touchdown. That was the guy that I wanted to be like, And so I felt like I was faster than everybody, whatever. So I get picked second. I go to the Bills, and so, that was my first year of football. Coach Joe was my first ever football coach. I'll tell you a story. At the time, he was already an older gentleman. I think he might have been in his early 50s at the time, So he's really old school. But he'd already been coaching Pop Warner for 15 or 20 years. I mean, he'd been a part of that league for a long time already. And so he drafts me. And I remember, we're at our first practice. And, he's asking me, he says, what position you want to play? Because he wants me to play corner or something like that. Now, my second favorite player of all time was Deion Sanders.
Right.
Is there somebody else on?
No. We're good. We're good too.
Okay. And so, listen, I love prime time. I wanted to be like prime time, but I didn't want to play corner. I didn't want to play defense. I wanted to be Barry Sanders. Yeah. But I was only 10 years old. And historically, with Coach Joe, now mind you, he's been coaching 15, 20 years. Right. He's never had a 10-year-old running back.
Never.
Right? All his running backs, because especially football back then, it was always centered around the run game. Now, it's all passing and spreading the defense out and doing. Back then, no, it was running back. Right. That was the position. And so he's like, you're too young. He's like, listen, 11 and a 12-year-old are naturally going to be bigger in size. You're older. 1 year makes a huge difference when you're like a kid.
Growth and everything. Yeah.
And I was really like, I'm like, come on, coach, please. You know, I want to be Barry Sanders. I mean, you know, just trust me, like I can do it, you know. And so he says, okay, all right. So I'm playing running back. I'm juiced. I'm happy, you know. And so he's like, so now we get to picking numbers. You know, what number you want to, you know, what number you want to wear? You know, I'm like, yeah, this, I've been waiting for this, you know, I want to be number 33. I've been thinking about this a long time. I've been thinking about this, you know, ever since like the tryout, like I want to be number 33. And he asked me, he goes, why are you so excited? Why do you want to be number 30? I told him, I said, because there's never been a Hall of Famer in the NFL with the number 33. And he laughs at me. He just sits there and laughs at me. And I'm like, I'm serious. Yeah. Like, I, you know what I'm saying? Like, this really means something to me. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, what are you laughing at? And he says, you know what? He didn't even answer. He didn't even tell me why he was laughing. Now I know why he was laughing, because obviously there's plenty of 33s in the Hall of Fame. I didn't know my NFL history as well as I thought I did as a 10-year-old kid. Right. But he says, you know what? I'm going to put you in number 40. And I'm like, number 40? No. I'm like, coach, that's a fullback number. You know, I was a 49er fan growing up. And the starting fullback for the 49ers at that time, his name was William Floyd. He was number 40. Yeah. Big. All they do is block. I mean, that's what fullbacks do. You know, they're block. You know what I'm saying? So like, that is definitely not. I mean, come on, coach, 40? And he goes, do you know who Gale Sayers is? And I say, no, I never heard of Gale Sayers, coach. He says he's a famous running back for the Chicago Bears. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, I said, coach, I think you're talking about Walter Payton, and he was number 32. Okay. Yeah. He kind of gives me that look again, like that laugh. He goes, go do your research, you know, go look him up. Because before Walter Payton, there was a Gale Sayers, and you run just like him. He's like, you got long legs, you know, you remind me of Gale Sayers. Right. And so although I was disappointed, you know, I wore the 40 my first year, but best believe when I proved myself after my first Pop Warner year, I got into that 33, of course, and then my career kind of skyrocketed from there, man. So that's how it all got started for me. Just kind of wondering like what's going on at the park, asking my buddy about it, and then signing up.
That's just where it started. That is incredible. That's something I couldn't look up. That's crazy. But one thing I wanted to talk about too is now you fall in love with the game of football. Of course, you have those Pop Warner moments. You get to Irvington High, right? And you know a coach like Wayne Stone, right? Your offensive coordinator, track team coach in Irvington High School. Always preach that you're a team before self. Just speak about that ascendance from going from Pop Warner and then going to Irvington High School, you know, being with Ramos, you know, make sure you guys are playing together, you guys are winning the championship. But what was the influence that a coach like Wayne Stone and even, you know, Bobby Spain had on you when you're growing up?
Yeah, listen, Coach Stone he was huge, man. I was a little bit of a knucklehead in junior high. You know, like I wasn't like a bad kid, you know, like I went to class and, you know, I never skip class or skip school or anything like that, you know, but, you know, I didn't always apply myself in the academic realm, especially in junior high. And so, you know, coming out of junior high.
Horner Junior High and Hershey.
Horner Junior High.
Right.
So coming out of, obviously, you know, I was really talented as an athlete. And coming out of junior high, you know, Coach Stone, they want all of us to play freshman football. I mean, and we knew we had a special group, and Coach Stone knew it too. Right. Coach Stone, so, but I was ineligible going into my freshman year. Yeah, I was ineligible, man. I don't usually tell people that, but you know, I wasn't eligible, man. Coach Stone, man, he went to work. I mean, like Coach Stone, man, he went to work, and Coach Stone had been around so long. Everybody, like, if you don't like the Stones, Coach Stone, Mrs. Stone, the twins. They're two. They have twin boys. Something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the Stones, bro. You know what I'm saying? So here I am, just some freaking knucklehead kid coming out of 8th grade. I've never met Coach Stone before. And he goes to work for me, man. And so, he did everything he could. So I ended up having to do this, like a thesis paper or something like that, to get my grade up, and mind you, like, school's out.
Mm-hmm.
School is over with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, he ends up pulling some strings. I end up writing this paper on shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
That was the topic. That was like shoulders. The title of it. And I was able to play football my freshman year. And he had a huge influence on it. I can only imagine what direction my life would have gone in if I would have never played football that season, my freshman year, because I didn't have an opportunity to play basketball that year. And basketball was equally my love.
Yeah.
Equally. Like I really, like, it was hard. My dad used to always tell me, son, you got to pick one. I had already eliminated baseball, even though I really love baseball. He said, son, you got to pick one, so you can hone in on it, you can train, and you can be the best that you can be. But it was hard, man. It was hard. Like, I love them both equally. But Coach Stone pulled some strings. I was able to be on the football team. The thing that really that really, I guess, turned the tide as it pertains to, like, being really team oriented was actually my sophomore year. I was a JV. And man, I listen, when you're good,
you're gonna go. Yeah,
you're good. You could, and sometimes that comes with, like, a certain attitude.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like an approach, like I'm Turbin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll never forget. And it pisses me off because I can't remember. I think his name was Joey, Coach Joey. I don't remember his last name, but Coach Joey was like this, like, he was almost like a redneck, always had the dip in his mouth, kind of coach, and but Coach Kane, he was an older guy. He was the head coach for JV. Coach Kane, man. When I say he was old school, man,
like you're running.
I'm talking about, man, he was old school. Like, like the way that, like, Navy and Army still run the triple option in college. Like, it was wishbone formation. I know some of you guys listening to this may not know what that is. That's a fullback and 2 running backs in the backfield. Yeah. And you run dive. Yes. That's it. It every now and then you may run a toss, right. But it was. And so we're at practice, and we're supposed to be implementing an option scheme where you can, fake it to the fullback, pitch it to the outside, get around the corner. We were previously, my freshman year, a fly sweep team. That was our offense. We ran a fly sweep. You bring the guy all the way down in motion, and you give it to him, and he runs around the corner. Yeah. So we go to this triple option scheme, and we're at practice one day, and we're just running dive after dive after dive. And listen, my nickname, I developed the nickname Turbo because of my speed. It's like, listen, I'm trying to get to the outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, coach. I'm not a big fan of, like, over exaggerating. I like to just kind of keep it. I mean, like, we're really running dive like 6, 7, 8 times in a row in practice.
That's nuts. That's nuts. As a quarterback,
and I'm like, run it again. I'll never forget. Run it again. Really? Run it again. And I'm like, oh, hell no. So I bounced to the outside one time. Right. And coach, he comes to me and says, that's not where I want it to go. I want the ball to go inside.
Too much of a dictator. Yeah.
I'm looking. I just scored a touchdown. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is practice, right. But I just scored a touchdown. So when he comes up to me, he tells me that after a touchdown, I'm looking around like,
who's man?
What?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Mm-hmm. I'm like, hell nah. So I get the ball again. I bounce to the outside,
Mhm.
and I score again.
Or again.
What are you talking about?
You
I
tell
think
people-
what happened was,
Yeah.
so after he said that, I got, we ran the play again. I go inside. You go inside, there's nothing there. It's like we're getting like 3 yards. Like I don't want to get 3 yards. I want to score. So I'm looking at him like, see, it's not in here. It's not inside. I'm Turbin. You know what I'm saying? I know what. For real, but I'm just being honest. Like
That's
at the time, yeah, that's my attitude at the time. Like I'm like, all right, so we run it again. I go to the outside again. I score, and he's livid, like and I for the life of me. So I go back. I said I'm the running back. You don't tell me how to run the ball. I know how to run the ball. That's how I came at him.
Yeah,
Coach. Look, Coach Joy. He had his dip in his mouth. Coach Joy pulled me to the side.
Yeah.
He said, Turbin. He said, I don't give a fuck how good you are. He said, you see that locker room? He said, you ever talk to a coach like that again, I'm going to send you in that locker room and you're never going to play football for this team ever again. And nobody's ever talked to me like that. And he was calm about it too. Wow. He didn't get in my face. He didn't yell at me.
Yeah.
He pulled me to the side. He looked me in my face. Like this was the first time a coach has ever done this to me. Mm-hmm. Like, not I've been coached hard. Like Coach Dave was a hard coach during my older years at Pop Warner and stuff like that. But, I always had the discipline. I wanted to be the best and stuff like that, and once I became like really good and I knew I was really good, I just kind of naturally, as a young teenager, became a little bit cocky, I'm Turbin, you know what I'm saying? So he pulls me to the side. He says, and everything, I'm like, man, he kicked off the team, all these things. And I'm thinking about my dad because my dad used to whoop my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, I'm not trying to go home. Like, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to get grounded. You know what I'm saying? Like, my grades are already kind of slipping. Like, I can't afford, not to play, man. So ever since then, it was always about the team.
So right then,
wow. Yeah, right then it transitioned for me. Right. And then I learned that, like, God, it's kind of like once you put the team first, you kind of get yours even more than you thought you would, like it's kind of solid. And Coach Spain was like that too, big team oriented coach, and really helped a lot of us get to the next level, man. Their style of coaching was like, we're not here to teach you guys football or just football. Everything that we do in football, the hard work, the adversity, the constructive criticism, the failures, it's just like life. It's the same thing.
Of course.
It's the same thing in everyday life and everyday work. And that's what they were implementing and teaching us then, that a lot of us started to realize when we got older.
Of course. And you were the number 6 in high school too. Like, so you went like 33, now you went to 6 in Irvington High.
Well, I had to add them together.
Oh, okay.
Now listen, I wanted to wear number 33. I did. Now, when my freshman year, I wore, now there's some stories to these. I'm a storyteller, so I'm my bad. I just fucked it.
Go.
So my freshman year, I wore number 2. Okay. I wore number 2 because there was a player, his name was Stephen Lee. He was the best player on the JV team. He was a year older than me. He was the best player. Right. There's another kid, his name was John Mosley. He was the best player on varsity, the best player. He was a junior. I believe he might have been a senior at the time. And so I'm looking at John Mosley and Stephen Lee. I'm looking at the 2 best players are wearing number 2. I'm going to wear number 2. I'm the best. So I wore number 2 my freshman year, My sophomore year, I was supposed to go to varsity my sophomore year, but I was like, because of where my birthday was, I was always the youngest kid in my class. So I didn't turn, I always didn't turn the next age until December, where everybody else was already, And so in high school, they had this rule where, you know, if you're going to play varsity as a sophomore, you got to be at least 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't turn 15 till December. I was still.
Just pause right there. There you go. You're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So JT, our quarterback, he's a freshman, or he goes to varsity as a sophomore. He was number 3. That was always his favorite number. You know, so I wore 3 my sophomore year because it was like my best friend left, went to JV. I had to find a way to fill that void somehow.
Yeah, there we go. Got it.
When I became a junior, I wanted to wear number 33. That was my number. I was, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm varsity now. I'm gonna wear number 33. Now seniors got to pick before the juniors. There's a guy named Steven Swaby who wore number 33. Now, even before we got to choose numbers, now, you know, Steven, he chose 33. Like my family members, they're like Rob,
right.
you can't wear 33 in varsity. You got to wear a single digit number. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, bruh, you gonna look ugly out there in that 33, bruh. They telling me straight up, like, you gonna look ugly out there in that 33, dog. Is it ugly? You know what I'm saying? If especially if you raw. Like if you raw, you got to wear all the raw players wear single digit numbers.
Reggie Bush, right? You were called the Reggie Bush of Irvington High too.
It was me and him together.
Right.
We going to hoop every day. And we had aspirations, me and him and another friend of ours named Percy. We were like, listen, you know, we're going to go to NBA together. All 3 of us. That was our dream. You know, we hooping together. You know what I'm saying? We played basketball every day. And Percy was like, you could see Percy, you could see him walking down the street on a random day. He had a basketball in his hand. You never saw P without a basketball in his hand. And that's how much we all loved it. We love basketball. I didn't play my freshman year. They did. So sophomore year came around. We're like, man, we can't listen. You know, make sure everything is right, grades and everything like that, so we can hoop, man. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be hooping together.
So, being from Fremont, California, are you more of a Warriors fan, or is that more Lakers?
I was a Bulls fan.
Bulls fan, okay, got it.
I was a Bulls fan because of Jordan, of course, and then I became a Lakers fan because of Kobe. I always went with my favorite player. Okay. I supported the Warriors. They were the hometown team, but it wasn't like I rooted for teams with the players that I want to be like. When I went to the court, I shot a fadeaway jumper. That was like my game, like a mid-range fadeaway jumper, because that's what Jordan did. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And people would get pissed off at me, like, stop kicking your leg up. What you talking about? This is
me. This is me. Yeah.
This fadeaway jumper. This is how you're supposed to do it, you know? And Kobe came around, and he was just like Jordan, but he kind of shot more threes, you know. So, you know, threes kind of became more of a thing in that 2000s, you know. So I was a Laker fan for the longest time.
So Percy.
So so we lost that game, man. I'm hot. I'm like yelling at people. I was one of those players, you know, like I get in your ass. I mean, I would expect the same in return. That's why. Hold me accountable to be the best, because I'm definitely going to hold you accountable. I will cuss you out, bruh, fast. I don't even know where it came from, because my dad never cussed.
Right.
It was just passion. It was passion. That's the only thing I could that's what it was. And I'm yelling at everybody, and I'm like, everybody, Rashad is telling me, like, because Rashad knows me. Like, he knows me since kindergarten. I mean, kick it every day.
Of course.
Rob, calm down. So he knows that I have this hot spree. Like, come on, Rob, be cool, man. Be cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all good, man. We about to play mission. We got one more game left, and then we can hoop. And I looked at Rashad. I said, can I cuss?
You can cuss, yeah.
I said, fuck basketball. I said, everybody needs to get together this offseason, work out, put in extra work, so a game like this never happens again. That's exactly what I said. And it was in that moment that I knew football was I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about basketball. I didn't care about running track. I didn't care about nothing. The only thing that I wanted to do was come back harder next season and prove that we were the best football team. And that's when I knew like the passion overtook basketball. The passion for football overtook any other passion that I had.
There we go. And who knew it would start with Mission and American high school? Who knew that would be the start, right? But another thing too, because I'll come back to football, but when it comes to you being a a martyr ambassador for Irvington High School, of course, back in Fremont. You have your alumni game. I see exactly what you do. That alumni game. You have your camps. You have all these different things. From your time in high school, was it your goal right from when you left USU, going to the pros, coming back, always instilling a drive in the youth as well too, to show them like, hey, you can get there, you can do this if you follow these certain steps, if you believe in yourself? Was it always a goal, obviously the kid come back and give back to the community?
1,000%. If you ask me in those days, Rob, why do you want to go to the NFL? Why is that your number one goal? My answer always, my first answer always, 100% of the time was because so I can come back and show other kids from my area that they can make it too. That was why. I want to go to the NFL. It's never been done here. It's Irvington. It's never been done here. I had teachers, you need to be more realistic about what you want to do with your life because, only special people go to the NFL. Only a certain percentage of high school kids go pro and stuff like that. We don't tell that to the person who wants to be a police officer or a teacher or anything else.
Right.
So why do I have to alter my goals and dreams because risk of injury and stuff like that? Why do I have to? What? You don't tell a cop. You don't tell somebody who wants to be a police officer you shouldn't do it because you can get shot.
Exactly. Even more fatal, right? Like ridiculous.
Come on. You know what I'm saying? And so I was out to prove it. Bro. Like I'm gonna prove to you guys. And when I do it, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you. Like, and then get the key. And I'm gonna tell the youth that, look, man, y'all can do it too, man. Forget what everybody else talking about. It's about you. What do you want to do?
And that's amazing. And that's one of the reasons why even me in the position of being a teacher, you never, ever tell any of the youth, like, hey, you can always make it, right? It's always something that you pushing them. I'm going to get back to that as well, too. But now going from Irvington High, being, of course, getting the letter from in track, football, basketball, being a great student athlete at Irvington High School, and then going to like say camps and like Stanford camp where you actually got, you're playing with a lot of the better players, in your area and whatnot in the West Coast, and then playing on both sides of the ball and getting a lot of, looks at, coaches that want you to play defensive back. What was your first inclination when choosing the Utah State University to be Aggie? When did you ever just tell people like, hey, I just want to play offense, I just want to be a running back? When did that decision happen?
From the very beginning. From the jump. I mean, Oregon, there's these other schools, Washington, like I went to the Oregon camp. I went to 2 Oregon camps. They wanted me to play defense. I went to Washington camp. They wanted me to play defense. All the camps that I went to, other than the Nike camp at Stanford, they were looking at me to play defense. And I get it. I was even my high school coach, Coach Spain, I love Coach Spain. And I always think about how my career would be different now if I would have stayed at and played at safety. But he says, man, everybody wants to be a running back. He says, man, go play safety. Go play safety. And, he was right. He was right in a lot of ways. Man. But when I was 10 years old, man, I wanted to be Barry Sanders.
Yes.
I wanted to be Barry Sanders, man. And it just never left my heart. It never left me, man. So my heart was just on the offensive side of the ball. I wanted to run the ball. I wanted to make people miss. I wanted to run people over. I wanted to score touchdowns. 100%. Like that was just like, that was just what was in my heart, man. And so, these schools, man, I had the opportunity to go to these bigger schools. But I wanted to play offense, and if you weren't going to give me that opportunity, then I just didn't want to go there. And I felt like I could make it wherever I went. Utah State came around, Boise State came around, you know, and San Jose State were the only three schools that were really seeing me, wanted to see me play offense. Now, San Jose State was automatically eliminated because one of my top goals actually was to get out of California.
Of course.
I wanted to leave home.
Right.
I wanted to leave home, not because I didn't like home, but it was because like I want to explore the world. I've never been anywhere. You know, I went to Louisiana, saw my dad get married, you know, but I was 8, you know, like you're not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? I went to Oregon. It was beautiful.
Beautiful.
You know, for football camp. You know, I'm like, whoa, look at all these trees. You know what I'm saying? For real. Like, am I wrong about it? Am I
not wrong about that. Eugene's beautiful.
There's hella trees in Oregon. Right. Being from the Bay, I'm like, I've never seen this many trees, bro. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, same thing in Washington. We go to Washington, we do the football camp. Man, I got to sit down with Coach Ty Willingham, you know, and I wanted to play for Coach Ty, man. I wanted to play for Coach Ty because my dream school was Notre Dame. Right. And he was released from there, went to Washington. I wanted to play for Ty, but he ended up getting released after my senior year from Washington. He ended up leaving there. So we're just like, but man, I'm going to these different, I'm like, man, I want to go somewhere else. I want to see what it's like with other type of people. Now, I didn't know Utah at all. I didn't know that it was the way that it was. I didn't know that it was like heavily Mormon and things like that. But listen, my dad was a pastor, you know, I spoke about him like getting up at 4 a.m. and Saturday. He also was at like church every Sunday. Like he was the assistant pastor of the church. Like every Wednesday for Bible study, he played the organ. So he's at choir rehearsal every Thursday. This is after work, you know,
working, man.
And prayer meetings on Monday, you know, and it's just like, yeah, my dad was heavy Christian church, like, you know, so I felt like I related. I was like, okay, it's a lot of religious, there's a lot of religion here, but I get it. Yeah. Okay. You're not, you don't have sex before you're married and whatever. That's actually like kind of, if you're religious, kind of how it's supposed to be. Like, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like in all of them, like Catholic, and it all kind of says the same thing. So what's the problem? Like I don't, whatever, so it wasn't a big deal to me. I almost went to Boise. They ended up actually bringing in, God, I can't think of his name, but he played for the Buccaneers for 7 seasons. Okay. Drafted in the first round. They call him like the hamster or something, the something like that. Right. But anyway, they ended up taking another running back. So last minute they pulled it. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to Utah State. I was kind of, they were kind of number one on my list anyway because I really like Coach Rushing. Coach Rushing was the coach that recruited me to come to Utah State. And so, am I here?
Yeah, you're good. Okay. You're good.
And so, Utah State, they were looking for a runner, and it was just the perfect fit.
I know exactly who the hamster is. I'm trying to get the name, and I know exactly what you mean. But
yeah, I can't. I always forget his name. Doug Martin.
Doug Martin. There we go. Doug Martin.
So they ended up recruiting Doug Martin.
Got it.
And it was like between me and him, and they were kind of favoring him, and I was kind of favoring Utah State anyway because nobody came to see me from Boise. That was a big thing. Utah State came to see me, Coach Rushing. So I was like, I like that. Right. I really did. That really showed a lot of interest. So I was heavy on Utah State. I love the fact that they were the underdogs, like the team, the school that a long time ago, like a really, really long time ago, was really, really dominant. And then for a lot of years, just bad. I mean, it's just call a spade. I mean, they were just not good.
Right.
And Irvington was similar. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I come from that. I mean, I'm leaving Irvington, where the school has done nothing since it's in its existence, the entire existence of the school. Nobody's ever gotten a football scholarship. The football team is basically never had a winning season before. I mean, they've always sucked.
Right.
But that 2007 class came in there and I give a lot of credit to that 2006 class too. Came in there and turned that thing around. And I just had to, and it just came from that mentality. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to Utah State, do the same thing. I'm gonna go to Utah State. Oh, they haven't been good for. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's me. That's the perfect fit for me.
If I were to say the name DeAndre B, you said you actually met him in. Oh my goodness, you met. Don't mind that, but you met him.
Good.
Yeah, on your freshman, you guys met on the plane. Didn't even know you guys were going to the same place. But DeAndre B, playing quarterback there in that team, Gary Anderson as well too, in Utah State. How close was that connection for you from day one and going through, towards your sophomore, junior year at Utah State? Right?
Are you talking about the relationship between me and DeAndre?
Yeah, you and DeAndre. Yeah, first off.
Yeah, it was an instant connection. I mean, we both from the Bay,
right?
So it was already like automatic. And Coach Rushing, he recruited him too. Okay. And Rush had it's funny because it was like we were there at the same time, but we weren't supposed to be there. Right. So like the freshmen weren't supposed to come in until, I don't know, it was like July 29th or 30th or something like that.
Got it. Yeah.
When we left to go to Utah State, it was like July 2nd, or it was like I want to say actually it was June, because I remember spending the 4th of July out there. And I wanted to go because I wanted to go early.
Right.
I wanted to go early. Yeah, I'm like, I'm serious. I'm going to Utah State. We're going to change this program around. I'm not going to wait till August when training. I'm going early. I'm going to go early. I'm going to work out with the team. I'm going to get to know my teammates. I want to be a leader. I want to be a captain, and I want to win games.
Of course.
I had the vision of going to the national championship. Now, I tell people that, and they look at me like I'm an idiot. I didn't watch college football growing up, so I didn't really understand SEC, Big Ten rankings and shit like that. I thought if you're a Division I school, you could go to the national title championship. That's the whole.
You thought.
Now, yeah, that's what I thought. I was honestly, that's what I thought. Now, when you go to college, once I got to college, like obviously it's like, oh, okay, they do these rankings and shit like that. Like, it's kind of stupid actually, if you ask me. But I was still of the belief, like even when I got there, I said, you know what, forget all the rankings and shit. Okay, fuck all that. I mean, we still going to national title. We still gonna do this thing from the WAC conference, And so, but we really connected because it's like I wanted to go early. You know what I'm saying? Coach Rush didn't tell DeAndre that I was going to go early. DeAndre wanted to go early too.
Of course.
Because he was of the same mindset.
Same cloth.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We cut from the same cloth. And so here we are. I'm sitting, at the terminal waiting on the plane to come in. And he's sitting there. He looking at me. I'm looking at him. He looking at me. And he like, what's up? I'm like, what's happening? And I'm in like I'm in one of them real church suits. I'm in one of them suits, man. That was one thing about my dad. He was like, man, you gotta be professional. And I'm in one of them. It was a slick brown suit with like tan squares all around it and everything like that. I had my vest and my boy. I was serious.
Right, you're drip. Yeah, big drip.
So DeAndre comes up to me, says, hey, man, you the running back? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, who are you? Because Coach Rush didn't tell me. He must have told him that, hey, by the way, there's a running back going,
Right.
You the running back? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you are you? He said, yeah, man, my name's DeAndre. Coach Rush recruited me. I'm the quarterback. He said, damn, man, I ain't know we were supposed to wear a suit. I was like, nah. I was like, nah, man. This is just me, man. My dad made me wear this, man.
Right.
My dad, he's like, okay. And then it just, we was just the best friends, man. We was best friends from there, bro. From there.
That's amazing. And even too, getting to the time you did have, you had some injuries along the way, but in that, junior year, mentoring guys such as like Robert Marshall, right? Like your backup, Jamar Marshall, and having, Coach Gary Anderson. But what I want to talk about too, like not only mentoring the younger guys that are coming up to, because you are the feature back in that offense, but Bobby Wagner, how was your relationship with Bobby Wagner in Utah State, and what did you like? What are the qualities that you garnered from being at Utah State? What are like the values that you grow up a lot from that experience of being there, being away from home? What was that all? How did that all encapsulate all together? Like growing up with those guys.
Yeah. Well, first off, we had we held each other to a really high standard in our running back room. And so, it didn't matter who was in the game. You knew what it was about, and we wanted to be the best group on the field, on the team. We wanted to lead by example. Now I was also that vocal leader as well. But certainly, we wanted to lead by example. Bobby came, so, my freshman was 2007. Bobby came in 2008. He came a year after me. And our relationship really didn't develop until 2009. 2009. And so that was his second year. My third year, obviously I redshirted my freshman year because of an injury. But it was one of those things where we didn't really have anybody in those first 2 years, really on both sides of the ball that were like leaders. I became that leader for the offensive side of the ball in 2009, and Bobby kind of took over that leadership role for the defensive side of the ball during that same year. And we just held each other accountable to a really, really high standard. We didn't hang out a lot though. We were from different areas, and perhaps we didn't relate in a lot of ways. But as we got older in our career, really that last year in 2011, both of our last years, that's when we really started to connect. We started to hang out more and really get to know each other. Oh shit, actually, Turb is actually cool. And I'm looking at like, man, Bobby is actually, man, he cool. You know what I'm saying? Like we have each other's back. Like I trust this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I would jump in front of a bullet for Bobby today, right now, and I would have back then too. And that's kind of how the relationship developed over time. And you had a third part to that question.
Just about how you've grown at Utah State, like how
your
development.
Yeah, I mean, and Utah State, that's what college does. You're a young man when you go, really a teenager, but you develop into a young man, and college to me is where you really have an opportunity to like kind of develop who you are and who you want to be, moving forward. It's kind of one of the first times you experience like adversity as a young adult, and you kind of like, and yeah, granted, you're in college, and some college kids, they have people that they can rely on, parents and family members and uncles and things like that. But for me, I did not have that. Like my dad was there, but my dad also had his own struggles and stuff like that. I didn't want to have to lean on him too much. I wanted to figure things out on my own, and so it really developed me as pertains to like mentally, where it's like, man, adversity, I can get through that. Like I did it. I got through it, and I became a professional, even more professional and stuff like that, and so yeah, really it just prepared me for the things that I'm kind of like seeing and going through now, and that I've seen throughout my career so far.
Of course, and and one thing I've seen too is your mentorship for even younger players as well too. Even having your little camps that you have back at Utah State, you give back the community. You're pretty much an Aggie forever, but you're seeing young guys like Jordan Love get drafted last year and having them come back. Are you always in tune and you're always synced into that community right now, or are you always going back and
When I first got to Utah State, I'll never forget when I was a freshman. Every fan that I would meet fan,
Mm-hmm.
even guys like equipment managers, secretaries, tutors, you know, hey, Turbin, you know, if you ever go pro, man, don't forget about us.
Mm-hmm.
They used to always talk about how alumni players never come back.
Really?
They never come back. That's what they would say. That this is literally verbatim. They say alumni players, especially the ones that go pro, they never come back. I'm like, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they look at me and say, they never come back. They never come back. They never come back. They never come back. Say hi to the community or the players. They never come back to say what's up to the players that are here now. And they were right. I mean, and it's like when I was in college, I was at Utah State. I'm looking at all the alumni players, and nobody ever came back.
Wow.
The one person who would come back was Jarrett Bush, and Jarrett Bush played 9 seasons with the Green Bay Packers. He was a corner, and the effect that it had on me, just his presence alone, like the fact that he would go out on the field and guard us and practice against us. This is when like the coaches, college has that time frame where like coaches aren't allowed to be on the field with you. So the players end up doing like kind of their own workouts, but the coaches kind of put it together,
Yeah.
But Jarrett, he would come to those like two out of the 5 years that I was there, he came back. And not only did he come back, but he practiced against us. Now, think about it, like mentally, like as a college kid with aspirations to go to the NFL, you have the opportunity to run routes and go up against an NFL player. This is an NFL player right now that we have an opportunity to practice against. We haven't had that.
That's big.
It's huge. It meant a lot. Like the feeling that it gave me was like, I never want to be that guy that never comes back. I never want to be that guy. Mm-hmm. And so I never have been.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're always coming back. That's amazing. And one thing too, even, now transitioning from, of course, playing that year, your last year, 2011 your last year with the Aggies and going, transitioning to go to the pros now. How was that transition from the combine? Like now getting to the point where you're talking to all these teams, and then now finally landing with the Seattle Seahawks and that organization, the successful organization. Like, how was that transitional period for you?
Yeah, it was a lot.
Right.
I mean, it was a lot. It was like, you're doing this thing and you're doing that thing. And, I was technically a redshirt junior, so I didn't have to like play in the Senior Bowl. I didn't get invited to the Senior Bowl or anything like that. But it was just one thing after another, boom, 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 and it's like as soon as the season ended, it was like, bam, you sign with an agent, and you gotta go start training for the combine. There was really no rest, no break, man. So it was that period of time from my last game, that bowl game, up until the draft was a lot. Was a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. So now, like, of course, I think the span from 2011 all the way to around 2014 for your life in football, like unprecedented, right? 2011, you drafted in 2012, and of course going to the Super Bowl in the 2013 year with the Legion of Boom. Being on the same team with a lot of guys that to this day are going to be Hall of Famers. Of course, guys that have been great influences. Playing with Marshawn Lynch in that backfield with Sherman Smith, with that running back room altogether, Coach Sherman, how was that experience for you? Like in 2013, when you guys are just running over teams, like was that something that you got, like you just knew what was going to happen from the start of the year?
We definitely had high standards for ourselves. We expected to be great. We felt like we were always the better team in every game that we played. Right. And we were out to prove that. We had a bunch of guys who had been looked over and talked down about, and just had this incredible like chip on our shoulders. Everybody. I mean, everybody. Even Earl Thomas, who was a first round pick. It just, and it just spread, throughout the entire team. Marshawn was a first round pick, but everybody always talked bad about him, his off the field issues, and he's this and and everybody was just out to just like, yeah, man, just prove everybody wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, like, like we are, a great team, a great team. And yeah, man, it was a fantastic year to be a part of.
100%. And just to kind of, encapsulate, two great players that you played with as well too, Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck, like just being with the great quarterbacks, like were they, especially with Russell Wilson too, because it's someone that I'm pretty like you've played all this time with, his demeanor from like not getting too high or too low, like and his leadership as well too, like would you find right now that like his leadership qualities are something that kind of let you guys kind of carry you guys for a long period of time, or is it something that you haven't seen with many quarterbacks? Like, how was that the difference between being with a guy like Russell Wilson and a guy like Andrew Luck?
Well, they're similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, they're very great leaders, and they just have this like this weird knack of just playmaking, man. They just know how to make plays in their own way.
Yeah.
You'll see Russell do some, heroic stuff and run around and make a play. Like, well, how the hell did he do that?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Andrew. You might not see Andrew like running circles and things like that, but he'll get out of a sack or something like that, and he finds an open receiver, and boom, we're in the end zone. And it's just like, what the hell? Where the hell did that come from? And just super intelligent, man. Like probably could call his own plays if he wanted to. Andrew. Yeah, man. So yeah. So definitely similar in a lot of ways. It helps your team, whether you're a young quarterback or a veteran. When you have a quarterback that is always kind of in that mid, attitude range, just cool. Like, hey, you might get frustrated here and you might get frustrated there, but for the most part, it spreads throughout the team. And so you're never out of a game. Right. You never feel like it's over.
Right.
You have a quarterback like that, because a quarterback can listen. They have the ball every play, so it's like, man, some quarterbacks you see it. Some quarterbacks, they get back there, they start panicking, and guess what? So does the rest of the team starts panicking, and you know what I'm saying, and doing uncharacteristic things, dropping the ball and blowing a coverage and all these things. I'm not saying like it's the quarterback's fault, but what I'm saying is like, having a general there, at that position, because at the end of the day, it's the most important position on the field. It is. That's the general. That's the captain, the quarterback, man. And so when the quarterback is just always chill, no matter how the game is going, so is the rest of the team.
And I'll leave you with this. Like, I think you inspired me when I saw in an article you said, hey, I would love to give back and coach when I'm done. I love to coach in the high school level, because I want to develop young minds. I think the most crucial time to do that is in the high school division. Like, that's where you inspired me. And of course, you're mentoring people, and you have these academies that you do every single year. And of course, you're doing alumni games, you're giving back. I just want to say, like, man, thank you. Like, you're a great inspiration for all. And I hope you have, nothing but success, going forward with all of that, man. But if you do end up coming back to Canada at some point to see a CFL game or whatnot, please stop off in Toronto.
Yeah, you're in Toronto, right?
We're in Toronto, yeah. So we're in Toronto.
Yeah, man. Send me information on the DM, because
we'll do, man.
I was actually supposed to come out there and celebrate my 30th birthday.
Oh, okay.
But then COVID happened, so it was a wrap.
COVID happened. There we go, man. But
so I expect you to plug me all the spots.
Yeah, everything. No, I got you.
My expectations are high, bro.
Definitely, bro. Appreciate that. Really appreciate that. But hey, Robert Turbo Turbin. All right, this is the First and 10 podcast. Really appreciate having Robert Turbin on. Your socials, they can find you at Robert J. Turbin. Where can they find you on?
Everything is Robert J. Turbin. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube channel, Twitch.
Every
Robert J. Turbin, man. I keep it simple.
Awesome. Very appreciate it, man. We would love to have another thing with you, of course, in the studio at some point, but really appreciate having on. This is the First and 10 podcast. Everyone, keep balling. Thank you.